it's really a great honor to have you, Professor Bao, with us today. You are one of the leading figures in China on tourism development. You are working for so many years in this area. You have such a profound knowledge. You are the founding dean of the School of Tourism Management of Sun Yat-sen University, where you introduced this Western concept of tourism planning to China. You started the first global observatories. You're heading the monitoring center where we have the 8 Chinese observatories. Professor Bao, tell us, how does tourism work in China on the national and regional level? And what about this first observatory that you created?
Thank you very much. And it's very, very glad that we can come to the headquarters of UNWTO. Actually, it's my 5th time to visit here. And I remember once our observatory in China, we are a big delegation visited here. That time, more than 30 persons from all over China, the observatories, local governor and tourism manager, a big group of us visited here. This time, we try to organize the same size of delegations to come here, but unfortunately, now most of them from local government, so a lot of reasons they couldn't come. So only three of us from Sun Yat-sen University could come to visit the headquarters and also to see all other observatories delegates. Today, we are going to introduce something about the observatory in China, and the 3 of us will introduce different aspects of our work. First, I'm going to talk about the governance of China, the tourism. I think 4 very important things I'm going to mention. To understand the governance of tourism in China, one very important thing is most of the natural and the cultural attractions belong to the state. All the land belong to the state or collective. For example, for agriculture, land. The second important thing is even the national parks owned by the state, but managed by local government, not directly managed by the state. It's different from the United States. All the national parks managed by the state level, not the country level, not from province or local level. But in China, managed all the national parks like Huangshan, the most famous mountain in China, is managed by local government, and also the revenue from tourism belongs to local government. This is a reason why the local government has a motivation to manage, to develop tourism, and also to protect the environment. And also, some of the tourist attractions could be leased to private enterprises. Some low-level attractions could be leased to private enterprises. And in China, theme parks, is a hot topic in China now, because the Disneyland established in Shanghai and the Universal Studio now in Beijing. So most of the big cities, governments, they like to attract investment for theme parks. Everyone knows theme parks can attract tourists from all over the country, sometimes from overseas, and also from local peoples. And so the local governments like to give tax concession, sometimes subsidy, sometimes for investment from China, they can give land, cheap land for real estate development. So this is why local government like to give support for theme parks. And next, I'm going to tell you, introduce you observatory set up in China. 2005 is very important, one very important workshop, national workshop on tourism sustainable indicators held in Yangshuo, Guilin. Our university, Sun Yat-sen University, was invited as experts to help to organize a workshop. After the workshop, UNWTO and the local government, Guilin's government, Guilin city's government, and Sun Yat-sen University, the three partners to discuss to set up the first observatory in China, in Guilin, especially in Yangshuo place. And in 2008, UNESCO and UNWTO cooperated to organize a conference in Huangshan. And that time, Huangshan asked to join the observatory network. So Huangshan is the second observatory in China. And in 2010, your former General Secretary, Dr. Tabli Rifai, came to our university, they sign MOU with our university to establish a monitor center of sustainable tourism observatories in our university to manage all the observatories in China. So after that, some of the local government, so we should to join the observatories, but we have some standard. We have some standard to choose, to select it, the observatories. The observatories should have representativeness of, for example, it's an old one.
We have a new version.
It's okay.
Okay,
Okay.
we can use it. Okay, it's our country's map. Can see this our country is a very, very huge country, from north to south, almost 5,000 kilometers. From east to west, similar, around 5,000 kilometers. So it's a very, very huge country. So we selected the observatories very strictly. And you see, we have 9 observatories. Actually, because Henan province is a whole province, the province asked to join observatory as a whole. So which in Henan province, we have 3 observatories. And also Huangshan, after the mountain, the Huangshan mountain joined the observatory, and the city and Hongchun, the 2 villages is World Cultural Heritage, also joined the observatories. So altogether, we have 12. We have 12 observatories in China now. And the first one is Yangshuo. We use the indicators, the book, the very thick book, in the indicators to do survey. But apart from baseline issues, each observatories, we focus on something. For example, the Yangshuo place, Yangshuo Observatory, we focus on community participation and development, also tourism and commercializations, and the different those market and government play in tourism development. And the Huangshan Mountain is a wild natural and cultural heritage. But actually, the most important thing is natural side. So we can see the impact of tourism activities on the ecological environment. And this is Huangshan. And also CD and Hongchun, they joined the observatory a few years later. These two villages are world cultural heritage. So we our focus on protection of world heritage sites. We don't want this too commercialization. And also this third one is Zhangjiajie Observatory. Zhangjiajie is the area before tourism development is a very, very poor, the whole area. So it's mainly depends on tourism industry. It's not like other places. It's mainly depends on tourism. So for the past 3 years, COVID-19 affected the local, to damage the local economic very, very much. So for the Zhangjiajie place, tourism as an engine for regional development is our main concern. And the Kaunas Observatory, Kaunas is in the northwest of China. From Guangzhou to Kaunas, we spend the whole day. It's longer than from Guangzhou to Australia, the time, because we have to change 2 planes and then take 4 hours by car to this area. But it's a so beautiful place. After the tourism development, we are very concerned the relationship between tourism and the border region participation in globalization. If no tourism, this place, no anyone knew that small area. But after tourism, the local residents can connect to the center. And also Henan Observatory, we have 3 places. One is Luoyang, it's an ancient capital in past. So we can say the transforming culture religious resources into tourism resources, also rural tourism development. And the second observatory in Henan province is Jiaozhuo. Jiaozhuo before it's an industry city, mainly coal manufacturing. But you know, the older industry cities now decreased a lot. But they found a mountain called Yuntaishan. So they developed Yuntaishan as a tourism tool for the cities, renewal, yeah. And also we can say we focus on tourism poverty alleviation, because in mountain area the villages are so poor before. And also Henan, we have a Kaifeng, also an ancient city. After a theme park, based on the local colleges theme park development, the city now everything increased a lot. So we can see the impact and the role of theme parks urban revitalization. And also Xishuangbanna. Xishuangbanna is a very, very beautiful place. Some of you, when you visited Xishuangbanna, it's bordered on Burma and Laos. It's so nice, so beautiful places. Now we can sign the tropical rainforest protection and also the local culture. We try to maintain the local ethnic groups culture. And also we have Changshu Observatory. Changshu is very close to Shanghai. It's a very well-developed area in China, a very rich area. But we chose Changshu as an observatory is to see in a very economically developed area the happiness of the local people. And also the city itself, they protect their natural environment very carefully. And the last one is the Jiangmen Observatory. Jiangmen Observatory is a World Cultural Heritage. There is a lot of very interesting buildings invested from overseas almost 80 or 90 years ago from overseas, especially from the United States. And so we consider the development tourism industry and the multicultural inheritance in World Cultural Heritage sites also impact our overseas Chinese and overseas Chinese property on tourism development. This is the brief introduction about the observatory development in China. Next, Professor Zhang will. Okay.
Thank you so much, Professor Bao. I think these insights are very valuable, and I'm sure that most people in the room do not really understand how tourism is actually structured or governed, or how the monitoring is done in the observatories. So then I also wanted to point out this the enormous diversity of the observatories, the regions that are covered by you. Then also the dimensions of the regions in terms also of tourist arrivals. I don't know if people or the colleagues saw the numbers, like we had in Henan 102 million arrivals, 125 million arrivals. So we are talking huge tourism numbers also in certain areas, while in the other areas a little bit less, but smaller and more far away. So I think this is for us very interesting to learn. And when Dirk and me, we traveled to China this year, we were at the annual observatory meeting. It was like an eye-opener for us also on how this is really done on the ground. Therefore, Professor Bao, thank you so much for these insights. I have now pleasure in giving the floor to Professor Zhang. Professor Zhang, you're working closely with Professor Bao. You are the Deputy Dean of the School of Tourism at the Sun Yat-sen University, and you are the expert who is dealing with the monitoring work in the Changshu Observatory, because all the monitoring work is carried out from the university, from the monitoring center. Professor Zhang, how does that work?
Thank you, Cordula. I'd like to share some the example of Changshu, the annual monitoring work, how it works. As Professor Bao has introduced, that Changshu is in the very developed area of China. So people there, they have lived a very leisure life. So the tourism development in Changshu is between, I think, somewhere between leisure and tourism. So we have found the people, we try to monitor the life happiness of people lived in Changshu in the atmosphere of tourism development. We have some steps to do the annual work. First, we recruit volunteers from our students, because we are in a university, so educating the next generation to let them know what is and how to do sustainable tourism is very important. So we provide opportunities for our students to work together. And we publicize our annual work through our school social media. You can see at the right side, okay, in Chinese, the students try to have the open registration, and we select some of them with some experience before, and we construct our annual team to work together. You can see most of them are undergraduates. 75% of the team are from undergraduates. Now, then the second step, we have some workshops before we visit Changshu. We use social the net web meetings to work that. And then we determine the divisions of labor and work schedule. To educating the students, we especially we put 2 ways for the undergraduates to work together. First, they have to do some questionnaire. They have to be questionnaire collectors to get the data. The second way, they can join the interviewing leading by our professors to some local governments, the industries, and some associations, especially some individual experts in local area. So the students not just work as tools, they work as subjects, and the main part of our annual work. Each year, we finish 3 parts of the observations. First, you can see the survey on the important scenic spots. Because Changshu is the county, the county has many scenic spots. So we have to divide the students into different groups to visit each and every of these spots to collect data. Then we do some informal discussions with government departments. And the third one, we have many interviews with local tourist enterprises. For example, the tourism agencies, cultural and creative enterprises, performance venues, and country communication. Because Changshu, though it's a very industrialized area, the county, it is also a very famous country in Asian China, because it's as we call how to say, the interest examples in our Asian time. It has the most the best countries in China. Now, this does some pictures how the students work. They visit this spot and they collect data. They first they have to the overview of all the spots and talk with the guides there and the government, the administrative groups of all these spots. Then we had to every evening, I ask the students to take the notes of what you have seen, what you are thinking, what's the viewpoints from local authorities and the our companies, and you can see they put everything in our notes, and we share it through the social media, and all the group can see everything. Then the students use some gifts to collect the questionnaires. And then we also, after that, we count the numbers of the questionnaires and enter questionnaire data. And they have some preliminary processing of all the data. Then next day, they may have some more focused questions for interviewing. This the interviews. Also, we have some steps, the interviews. Now, everything, the data and information collected from scenic spots, governments, and enterprises, they all support our sustainable tourism observatories every year. We, as Professor Bao has introduced, that we have special questions, special focus on each observatories. So we divide that into 2 parts. First is the routine contents. It's according to our INSTO the templates. Yeah. The second one is the thematic contents. We develop different scenic contents for these observatories every year. For example, in in 2023, we have three different special reports of these contents. First is the research on urban leisure and residents' well-being in Changshu. Second one is review of Changshu's tourism development strategy, because the government, as the leader of the government's change, sometimes the policy changes a lot. It's not very good. It sometimes damages the sustainable developments of all these places. So we have to review and provide viewpoints from our side to tell the government what this change of policies over time have done to the sustainable of tourism. And the third one is Changshu culture tourism products contents planning and case references, because I said Changshu is a very historical county, and now we have to focus on how to use tourism to help the cultural heritage protections. Now, this is just some outlines of our work. We start every summer and end it just before the end of October. So thank you. That's the annual work we have done.
Thank you very much, Professor Zhang. It shows how you're doing the monitoring work on the ground. And I understand this is a lot of work. You are going there well prepared. There's quite a number of students. This needs it's a logistical issues behind it, the challenge, but also then the data collection, the transformation of the data into information for the local government. I think that is very well done on your side. What we have noticed when we visited you earlier this year is that the local governments are really relying on you. They are coming to you. They ask for advice in what needs to be done. And so I think you are very well recognized and a very well-known institution where you can go for asking for advice. And I think with your insights, Professor Pao, Professor Zhang, we get a little bit of a better understanding on how the work is done on your side. Thank you so much. With this, I have one last question to Jiawei. Jiawei is the one who coordinates all this monitoring work, not only inside China, but also towards the INSTO side. So she's working closely with Dirk and myself. It's always a pleasure of having you. Jiawei speaks very well Spanish because she was working also in UNWTO. She did her studies in Spain also. Yes. And so it's great having you, Jiawei. Jiawei, you're doing a lot of work with coordination and working with the local governments, but you always keep telling us an observatory is not only an observatory, it's much more than that.
Yes.
What do you mean with this, Jiawei?
Yes, thank you very much, Cordula and Dirk, for inviting us. And yes, I worked for the monitoring center since 2012. At that time, we had 4 observatories in China, the Yangshuo, Huangshan, Zhangjiajie, and the Canas. And I worked in WTO in 2011. And then when I went back to China, my former boss from Asia and Pacific said, we had a project with Sun Yat-sen University. So do you want to work with that? Then I started to work with the monitoring center. And yes, because we are a special example. We see from all the observatories, you are working with the university directly one by one, like Indonesia, Philippines, Australia, or like other observatories directly with the government, like Malaga, Guanajuato. So the source of data is quite different, and the way of working and the way of getting feedback is very different. And in China, we have kind of a platform as the center. In China, the governments believe in platforms, believe in group working, we believe in teamwork. They want to join some sort of organization so they can have like other members to work with them to achieve a better level of development. So that's how they believe also in monitoring center and work with the experts. I think that's a different mentality in China. Apart from the annual work and monitoring work that Professor Zhang introduced, it is actually quite a small part of our daily work. It's just during maybe 1 or 2 months of the year, but we do have other activities along the year. For example, Cordula mentioned the training course that we have each year in the first half of the year. That's mainly for scenic area managers and also mid-level government officers to deal with the practical issue they face every day, because the situation is changing, right? If you only provide annual data for them, they will see, okay, you monitor every year the same thing. So what's the difference? Right? So every year for the training course, we choose different themes. For example, accessibility, because before we didn't have that in our monitoring reports. Then we say, this is very important. UNWTO wants us to monitor that. What is accessibility and what's the best cases? So we organized one training course like that, for example, and this year you participated in also one of the trainings, and we have discussions together. And so that's the workshop. We host the capacity building, and also we have we invite other countries to join us, like Japan, Ozawa-san, and Ibo, and also Marianne from Philippines. She also was in one of our training courses, and she was really interested. And so everything started from there, from Indonesia as well. So that's one of the important work we do. And apart from the annual monitoring, actually during that monitoring period, it's mainly carried by the School of Tourism Management. The students are from the School of Tourism Management, but we want the influence to be maximized to other faculties of the university, to other students, because if only tourism students know sustainability, that's only a small part of the influence, right? So we do this public promotion campaign on promoting sustainability. We recruit students from all over the university, from different majors, because they can have different input in also sustainability, right? People from environmental protection, people from the social studies, even people from statistics. So they come differently for this campaign. And we organize 10 to 15 students during the monitoring period to the observatory, and they face the residents and the tourists to tell them what is sustainability, why tourism is important, because everybody takes tourism as like, so for sure, right? It's something we do, but it's not something so important. We tell them, especially the young children, we design some games to tell them what is sustainable, what is not. So this is one of the most important activities we do, and I think this is very important. And also we gather lots of good practices. UNWTO published a publication of tourism stories of individuals whose lives are affected by tourism. And so we say in many tourism observatories, because for example, Zhangjiajie is almost the whole area is lived on tourism. So we say, let's collect good practices as well for them to show in these areas how people are live on tourism. So that's one of the publications we did on tourism shaping tomorrow about individual stories. And also we found interesting cases in ethnic groups, ethnic areas, in border areas, which is really remote and far away from globalization. So we did some documentary on youngsters who didn't really have much education, but when tourism developed, they are involved in the industry. Cases like that. And also, as I mentioned, that the local governments believe in platforms, believe in working groups, and joining observatory for them is like a starting point of being part of the UNWTO. Because for them, UNWTO is like for member states, right? As local governments, they have very little say in all these issues. But as part of the observatory, they can participate in UNWTO events and have more information of what's going on in UNWTO and, for example, the UNWTO awards. So in 2008, we helped Luoyang Observatory to get the UNWTO award, and in 2021, our Shidi Observatory become the best tourism villages, especially the best tourism villages. As I don't know if you know the criteria, it is not purely, but mostly based on sustainable indicators. And when we helped them to do that, they see the years of work we did for them on sustainable, and they just get the data, right, what we did for them, and that's how they get the best tourism village. And this, as I mentioned, we have training course in the first half of the year. And then during the year, we have monitoring work and other activities. And at the end, like INSTO global meeting, we have a China Observatory annual meeting every year in October or September as well. That's when we gather to discuss the annual monitoring report. And that's when some high level government officers like mayors, vice mayors join this and hear from us what's the results and what should we do. So this is another important platform we do. And also, like we as observatories, for example, Changshu has the ability to host some of the conferences for Asia and the Pacific, because in Asia and the Pacific, most countries are undeveloped or less developed countries. So we help them as well to do training courses, and especially for South Pacific and Asia Pacific region. So that's what we do as monitoring center. Thank you very much.